TikTok, time to rock. We're here to rock with the Hawk and the Hikmah. The Hawk and the Hikmah. That should be our
Here to
nicknames.
rock your world.
That should be our nicknames. The Hawk and the Hikmah.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you rather be the Hawk or the Hikmah?
I would be the. I would like to be the hawk. You can be the hikmah.
Hawk and the Hikmah, baby.
Yeah.
the, the Hawk and the Hikmah.
Wow. Wow.
All these other guys don't have the Hawk and the Hikmah.
Where's the hikmah? Where's
the
the hikmah?
Hikmah? Speaking of the Hikmah, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be our target is to get to this Sajid Lipham video where it's funny because he can't even say anything directly. Have you noticed that? Like
Yeah, yeah.
he's trying not to call people. I mean, to be fair, he has called these guys out a million times and so on, but it's getting to the point where it's like he doesn't want to say exactly what he's talking about because then all their fans, oh, how dare you attack this guy for promoting child marriage, and how dare you attack these other guys for promoting secret second wives, and he doesn't want to call them out directly because then all their fans come after him. But
Yeah, yeah.
so
He's putting on this whole thing, this whole reasonable guy, and people are doing a lot of crazy things, and I'm reasonable, and I want to just say the good stuff that needs to be said without directly attacking anybody. He puts on that whole persona and then preaches to his audience.
yeah, so AP, I mean, apart from the infamous holes in the narrative interview, what was that, like 2 years ago or something like that, 2.5 years ago, something like that?
I guess.
Yeah, apart from the infamous holes in the narrative interview, this has got to be the worst month for DAWAH
I know. So
ever,
much stuff happens, right?
ever. It's all back to back, man.
So what do we have? We have so many things that happened. So we have the whole child marriage thing of Daniel Kikachu with his crazy things about having sex with a 5-year-old or 4-year-old or 3-year-old girl. Then we have, I don't know, Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawa talking about secret wives, the infighting again. I don't
Yeah,
know.
this is these are rough times, man. Rough times to be a da'i. Oh yeah, and
Dawa is just amazing.
the 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 crying sheikhs, the crying sheikhs weeping over people writing Muhammad's name on their private parts and so on. Like these guys openly sobbing and crying over everything that's going, and calling for the massacre of entire city populations to
Yeah.
stop the blasphemy against Muhammad, the epidemic surge of people writing Muhammad's name and writing the Shahada on their penises and breasts, and who I don't know what they're these guys are the experts.
We should burn entire cities down to stop people from writing the name of the Prophet Muhammad on their private parts. Wow, man.
So these are rough times, man, and
Terrible enough times.
it's funny because they started off the year thinking they had a slam dunk with like Andrew Tate and so on. Oh, we got Andrew Tate and he's our hero. Now things are going to turn around because we got Andrew Tate, the
Yeah.
webcam pimp. He's praising us. Oh, and don't forget Sneeko now. Now they've got Sneeko. So there's like
Oh boy. Yeah.
it's like if you named the people at the absolute bottom of the barrel, the last people on earth we would want representing our position, it would be like whether you're Christian or atheist or whatever, the last people on earth you would want to be the champions of your position would probably be Andrew Tate and Sneeko.
Yeah, lots of people may not know who Sneeko is, but he's a
I
he's a
didn't.
streamer. He's a streamer. I only also became aware of him because of the whole Islam drama. He initially said something offensive about Islam, and Muslims became outraged and started like insulting and threatening him and unsubscribing and things like that. And then he had an interaction with the Muslims and was like, "No, I didn't mean to be offensive. I take that back and all that." And then later, after Andrew Tate converted to Islam, he suddenly became interested in Islam, and now he converted to Islam. But the issue is, the guy is just he is very, very embarrassingly cringeworthy and not very smart. He's not known for being smart. He's known for his sensationalist, stupid, funny attitude. And he recently became a neo-Nazi as well, and started, befriending the neo-Nazis like Nick Fuentes and others, and making up theories about how the Jews are in control of all the stuff that is going on in the
Oh,
world right now.
that's why he went to Islam.
Yeah, and then that of course combines very well with Islam. Of course, Muslims like his stuff immediately once he starts bashing Jews, and once he starts bashing every single problem in the world, blaming every single problem in the world on Jews, and he came closer to Islam, and eventually he said, "I am now a Muslim." There's also one funny thing to add, though. He was recently on a stream together with Destiny, who we also recently became familiar with because of his cartoons about about Islam. Sneeko brought up something about Islam, and Destiny said, "Sneeko, I want to ask you one thing. What is your favorite? Can you tell me one favorite verse of yours from the Quran?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, go ahead." And Sneeko is quiet and goes, "No." and that's the moment. He has no idea. He doesn't even know a single thing about the Quran, but he's there talking about how the Quran is amazing and all that. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy.
Hey, check out the comments here from our friend Nawaf. Yo,
Oh, is that
how
a
is
Muslim?
yeah, no, how is Reed, and is Reed enjoying his 15th birthday? So of course he knows my son just died, and this is the
Yeah.
response we get. And notice how this is interesting, because these are the same guys who whine and moan and wail when people write Muhammad's name on their private parts, right? Like this is how guys act, and then they get shocked. They get shocked when someone does something. See?
Here. This is, I credit Nawaf for this action here. Nawaf, well done. Wonderful. This is what you get. This is what you get.
Yep. So, welcome to this is actually a good summary of the situation in DAWAH. It's like 14 centuries of violence, then it gets stopped, then it finally gets stopped, and then it's we'll insult everyone into being quiet. We'll insult everyone into being quiet about Muhammad, and they just don't get it. So we are going to. Our goal is to get to Sajid's video, but I did want to recap some of the recent events because Sajid is responding. Sajid is reacting to all of the embarrassing stuff that's been going on for the past month, and he wants to do something about it. And just I really think there's nothing he can do about it. I think he's actually stuck. So where should we actually begin here? How about the Daniel and IP clip?
Oh boy, yeah.
All right, so
good.
ladies and gentlemen, there's an entire debate. You definitely want to watch it, but there's this clip of Inspiring Philosophy asking Daniel specifically about, how young can a girl be? And Daniel's responding. So let's go ahead and check this out.
Because if you can start fertilizing a female as soon as she's showing signs of an imminent fertility, the period, menarche, then that will maximize, because you secured the female right at the beginning, the start of when she will potentially.
But you can still have sex before you start
pure.
maximizing fertility, right?
When the body is physically mature, according to Islamic law.
Do you know what precocious puberty is?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Do you know what precocious puberty is? Do I? he goes, yes, I do.
I noticed that he made it. He's like, oh yes, I do. Like, he's very proud of it. Yeah.
Precocious puberty is my life. What's wrong with these dudes, man?
I find the language here already very disturbing. I don't know. He starts with this is the way he always talks about girls and women. It's like fertilizing the female, securing the female. This is just the whole thing. The whole time he doesn't even talk about them as as women. There is no such value of actually a human equal human interaction. Of course, there is no equality in his eyes. I know, but I don't know. It's kind of disturbing, and he That's all his thing is always about. The females, as soon as they are ready, should be secured by the man so that they can be made ready to fertilize and increase the population and make sure that Muslims become strong and, large and all that. Wow.
So, they're doing the whole precocious puberty, maximizing fertility discussion here. Let's see where Daniel's gonna go.
It means starting puberty unusually early, like
Can
beyond
you have,
averages.
Is there anything in Islam that prevents you from, a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
No, marriage can happen, you can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
But could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old consummated if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible, as I stated. That's
What about
the
age
principle.
4?
If there are signs
3.
So this is something that becomes biologically impossible because precocious
I have
puberty,
a study
there are
that shows
no...
it goes as early as 11 months.
All right, well, that's something that the parents would not... See, the thing about Islamic marriage is that parents are involved at these ages. And when you look at the marriage of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to Aisha, her parents were involved. And so she was not living with the Prophet, peace be upon him, even though she was married to him. So the parents have oversight, and sometimes a qadi or a judge can have oversight if the guardians are not capable to make sure that the rights and the physical well-being of a child are not, or a minor, are not harmed by that marriage.
What about, because you've tried to justify sexual slavery after a war. So what if a man finds a 7-year-old, let's say, started her period? Could he take her back as a sex slave?
So that's a whole different debate on slavery and concubinage.
I'm just talking about the minor aspect. Would that be fine?
Yeah, so if a girl is any age, she can be taken as
A sex slave, right?
Yeah, as opposed to being left to die.
All right, so
Wow. I watched this live, and this part was definitely my favorite part of the whole debate. And I thought IP did what I can't think of anybody else who could do this so effectively. He prepared these questions and really pressed him and made him say things that really expose Islam, and then he gets you. I felt so satisfied as I was watching that. I thought, thank you, man.
yeah, I was in front of Daniel, sort of off to the side against a wall, but I was still working on my opening statement and stuff like that because I was debating next, and I was like. So I wasn't listening to everything, but for that part, I was like, "What? Wait, what?"
He just said that.
He just said, "Okay for a 5-year-old, okay for a 4-year-old," and then when it's okay, what if she's 11 months? And it's the parents have to step in there and they decide. And of course, if the parents have been groomed by a professional manipulator like Muhammad, then they'll hand their kid over because You see, my child has reached puberty at the age of 11 months. This is a sign from Allah that I need to hand over this man. Otherwise, my precocious child might go into the closet and masturbate. So I'll just hand my 11-month-old girl to this creepy dude. You remember Fareed? What was Fareed's tweet about that?
Oh, his tweet. I recently just posted that again. It was, how is it child rape when there is parental consent?
Yeah, so people are pointing out, since a minor is not capable of consenting, really, a minor doesn't know what she's getting into, and yet they'll marry off a minor and so on. And so people are pointing out that this is actually rape. If someone isn't capable of consenting, it's a different kind. It's not. It's more like like statutory rape or something like that. But the idea is that someone's not capable of consenting. And then his response is, how can it be rape if the parents are consenting? So as long as the parents consented to sex with an 11-month-old or a 5-year-old or whatever, then it doesn't matter if the little girl has no clue what's going on. It doesn't count as rape because the parents have consented. So they have this mindset built in.
It's so funny, like the way he presents it, the way even he responds. It initially sounds like he's saying that the parents would not, would not allow it anyway, and they would prevent it because they are supposed to prevent it. They are supposed to not allow it. But I mean, just the fact that there is no barrier here, it is not forbidden, and it is up to the parents already. If you think just one step further without taking his idiotic deflection, at face value, it already implies that the parents, if they are terrible people, can allow it at any age, and if they can prove that there is a sign of development, they can allow it at 11 months, or 3 years in that example. And the man, an old man, can actually come and take a 3-year-old child as wife and have sex with her, which is just wow, man.
And he's clearly trying to think of something in Islam that would prevent this, right? He's trying to, like, what can I say here that would make it not sound like I'm saying it's okay to have sex with a an 11-month-old. And so it's, but the parents are involved. So, the parents might not agree to that. Okay, but you're allowing the parents to agree to that, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing in Islam that would prevent any of that, right? So pretty interesting stuff. All right, so we've got that. And then all right, AP, we're presenting this from our perspective. Now think of this from the perspective of Muslims like Sajid Lippam, he's trying to do dawah. He's tried his hardest to do dawah and to tell people about Tawheed and the oneness of Allah, and he's making his videos, and his videos are doing okay. But then Daniel Hakikachu comes along and goes, we marry kids, we so strong, we child marriage, and like Muslims around the world begin praising him. Our hero, our defender of child marriage has arrived. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and Sajid just thinks, oh no, what is this idiot doing? Now I have to go up there and have to say some nice words to make people have a good idea about Islam again. And he actually says it in his video. He's like, he's appealing to non-Muslims and begging the non-Muslims who are just getting in touch with Islam to ignore all the debates that are happening. He's specifically, I mean, it's very clear he's reacting to Daniel Hakikachu without dropping his name. But he's begging the non-Muslims to ignore him and the debates and pay attention to all the nice things in Islam. And Islam is a beautiful religion and all that.
Yeah, he's definitely you can tell from what he says that he's at least reacting to the Daniel Hakikachu defense of child marriage and presenting Islam as the go-to religion of pedophiles everywhere, and to the recent secret second wives discussion with Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab. So let's go ahead and check out a clip. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a much longer video on Ali Dawah's channel. Definitely worth watching if you've got the time. Over an hour long. I'm just going to play the little beginning clip where they give the little preview. So this is from the beginning of Ali Dawah.
They put me, hijab, brother Sirtaj, the would on lie detector test. And they said the following questions. Do you love your wife? Yes. Pass. Would you die for her? Yes. Pass. If your wife was okay, would you get a second wife? Yes. Pass. There is not an...
If our wives were okay with us getting a second wife, then we's gonna get one, and we proud of that. He's just dying to say that.
Yeah.
In an Islamic, I wanted to say in an Islamic state we do this, but they don't even have to. There are all kinds of, I don't know what these guys are doing, but there are all kinds of Muslims who get second, third, fourth wives in the West. You can't do it officially before the government, but you get your wife before the government, and then you get Islamic marriages. You get your Islamic marriages with your additional wives, and that's how you do it. And I've actually seen it pointed out years ago that it is far, far, far easier for Muslims in Western countries to have 4 wives than it is in Muslim countries, because in Muslim countries you have to be making enough money to have these marriages with all of these women. In Western nations, your second, third, and fourth wife are all, as far as the government is concerned, they're all single mothers. And since they're all single mothers, you can get government assistance, government benefits. The government can actually pay for your extra wives. And so they're pointing out it's like part of the call to move to the West in Muslim countries. Hey, if you can just get to a Western nation, you can actually marry 2 or 3 or 4 women. You just have to take care of the first one. The others will be taken care of by the government, and you can have all these wives. And,
It makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually knew a man who was quite old who did have 2 wives, and one of them was his official wife, one of them was his unofficial wife, and he actually did that very thing. He when he married his official wife, he didn't tell her that he already had an unofficial wife through an Islamic marriage, and she found that out later after the marriage, and she said, I would have never accepted it if I knew it beforehand, but later I just became used to it, is what she said. She was those were family friends, but people do that, and that guy was in Germany, at that time. People do that in the West.
Yeah, I know a Muslim in Michigan who had multiple wives, and fortunately it was amazing. We're actually talking to the woman who was going to become his second wife. Her parents asked us to talk to both of them, right? So this was me and Sam Shamoon back in the day. We're sitting there with the man and the woman. He's going through all of his arguments for Islam that he was using to convince her to convert to Islam so that she could come on as his second wife. And we, of course, we completely ripped the arguments to shreds, but she still thought it was a good idea. So went ahead and married him anyway. And then it was several years later when I got a message from her mom saying, she finally left Islam and she took her kid. She took her kid
Nice.
with her. So yeah, right. They do catch on, but I've heard that story over and over and over again about women who are brought in, they convert, become the second wife or the secret second wife, and then eventually find their way out of Islam. But
and what's funny is the governments are also trying to a little bit crack down on this and trying to, through regulations, through checks, make sure that there is nothing fishy going on, and that these people are not exploiting certain welfare rights that are given to them by the state, and that is then perceived by the Muslims who engage in polygamy as persecution. These kuffar nations are persecuting us because we are Muslims and they don't like the way we live and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right, let's get a little more
conflict between a man loving his wife and a man wanting to be polygamous.
I agree.
Because I get the polygamous part. I get the whole wanting to have more intimacy with more than one woman. But if you can ask the question more accurately, that take on another wife and all the responsibilities that come with another wife, how many men will agree to that?
For example, if one says, I sense that you've got a second wife, can he say, no, I don't?
Yes, you can. You can say that.
You can say that.
Yes, I personally believe this is.
If we sit down and we talk about it.
So that was Ali Dawa asking Muhammad Hijab if it's and they go into a little more detail, but he asks him, can a man just lie to his wife? And yes, that's allowed in the hadith, and Muhammad was like that with his wives. As it was clear, he was trying to deceive his wives about marry the Copt. And then, of course, he swore an oath saying that he would stop having sex with his slave girl, and then broke that oath. And so this is the guy who says it's okay to lie to your wives in order to make them happy. And so, okay, if you know it's gonna upset your wife to have a second, third, or fourth wife, just lie to them. You're lying to make them happy so that they think they're the only ones for you.
That makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Totally.
Yep. So that is right.
And I take my selfish needs out of it, i.e., me wanting him all to myself. I need to understand.
Yeah, stop being greedy.
So I need to sit down and I need to really think about how this is going to affect.
Stop being selfish.
It
Yeah.
could lead him-
Yeah. Think about how this affects him. You wanting him to be monogamous and not have 4 wives and an unlimited number of sex slaves. Think about how this affects him.
Man.
Yeah.
Poor guy. What's he gonna do?
Oh man. You see how these girls are, man?
I know, terrible. terrible.
See,
They never
this
think
why
about the feelings of
this
men.
why you got to get them when they're 5, so that they don't, so that they're not able, to form these thoughts on their own. And this is why you have to keep them away from any sort of education, like they do in Afghanistan now.
Yeah.
To
Which
doing
then
good.
Because-
finds very funny.
She always gave me the sort of the feeling that I could be open with her. I told her at one point that, look, babe, that's the sister.
Is that you? Yeah.
I'm possibly one of.
Look, the guys are loving it, right? This guy's talking about, hey, I felt comfortable around my wife. I felt comfortable enough bringing it up, and hey, there's this other woman I want to marry, and the guys are, yeah, woohoo, yeah, tell her, yeah, don't let her give you no lip.
Talking about
It's so
secrets.
pathetic. When you search online, when you search on YouTube just for second wife or Muslim's second wife or something like that, you will find a bunch of videos, including from DAWAH, from other Muslim apologists, from known ones, that say stuff like why we should be having more wives, why men should be allowed, and you just see these bunch of men saying, complaining about how they're not allowed to do it, or how the women do not understand them, and it's just, I saw it early and I thought, this looks so pathetic, man. It looks so pathetic. It looks like a bunch of big babies, a bunch of big kids who are, crying because they want the new PlayStation, and they are complaining because their parents are not getting them the new.
Yeah,
PlayStation.
they're like little kids, like throwing themselves on the floor in the checkout aisle of Walmart because mom wouldn't buy them any Skittles. I want my Skittles. I want my Skittles. Get up off the floor. No, I want my second wife. I want my second wife. Ah!
Precisely. It's so pathetic. Tough guys, tough bros.
ES1002 said they may have just made 4 ex-Muslim women. Yeah, and it won't happen instantly, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of these women, and especially the young women who are watching, are going to be thinking, "Whoa." I've heard from people, I've heard from critics of Islam that this is a thing, but now we've got the champions of DAWAH openly proclaiming it and sort of demanding it.
The funny thing is that also the message of this whole show that they are doing here, Ali Dawah is advertising, this is his own show, he is advertising this as countering the current Western trends and trying to preserve the nuclear family and Islamic family and bringing back Islamic values. So this whole thing here is meant to normalize all of these things that they are talking about and to introduce them to brainwashed, misled Muslims who are under Western influence, and also to openly and plainly say these things to others. I think they're doing a very great job there and exposing more and more people to how messed up this is, because people I think if we let them talk about these things openly, I think more people will dislike Islam than be like, oh, this makes sense. I'm going to join them and participate in their amazing new lifestyle. So
yeah, and it's really a combination of factors, which is making them like this. And this is true for Ali Dawah and hijab, as well as Daniel Hakikachu, Sheikh Uthman. They're all in the same camp, namely that as you get a number of followers who cheer you no matter what you do, like you can lie to people, your followers don't care as long as you're lying for the good of Islam. You can say horrible things, you can make things up. The followers just do not care. Once you as the da'i, so once you as Muhammad Hijab or Ali Dawah or Hakikachu or Sheikh Uthman, once you've absorbed that and you've been conditioned to finally realize, wait a minute, I can say whatever I want, these guys are going to cheer me on. It just starts freeing you up to, now just anything that pops into your head, this is a great idea, because they're going to cheer for it anyway. So, I think it'd be a great idea to defend child marriage. And what do your followers do? They cheer for you. Oh, I think it's great to tell women that we want to have secret second wives and so on. Well, guess what? Your followers are a bunch of horny young men And so, of course, they're going to cheer for you. Sheikh Uthman, I got stabbed. I got stabbed by the infidels. Where are David Wood and the apostate prophet who led their criticisms led to this catch up on me, right? It's and notice to this day, I mean, he's been completely exposed as a total fraud. I mean, this is the Jussie Smollett of Islam. Find one of his followers who cares even slightly. They do not care. As long as you are doing that for Islam, for your work, you're golden with us. And so they absorb this idea, and then they end up doing stuff like this. And you combine that with their idea that's built into a lot of these guys, that part of the problem in Islam is that it's becoming watered down. So we want to go like hardcore. We want to go hardcore defending the teachings of Islam in order for us to get Allah's blessing on our work. And you combine all that with the recent influence of Andrew Tate, and Andrew Tate sort of shocking everyone by showing them, no, you can just go in and treat women like garbage. Even Western women, you could just treat them like they're stupid idiots and they're pure garbage and they exist for no other reason than to bring you pleasure and money. You can tell them that to their faces, and there are those who will accept it. And so these guys have absorbed that idea. Now it's just rolling. It's rolled up into a ball right now, and we're getting this stuff. And this is fun stuff.
Brilliant stuff.
Alhamdulillah. Let's go and see a little more.
Second wife. If my husband has gone behind my back, that to me is cheating, even if it is Islamically correct.
Feminist sisters who love their sisters, who will die for their sisters, will take a bullet for their sisters, but will not share their husbands for their sisters. So the point is this, let me be real, yeah? If you got a good husband, by the way, I'm not talking about these guys who don't pray, jahil clowns, yeah? Who don't pray, who oppress their wives. A good man who practices, who fears Allah, who's good to his wife, takes care of his wife. He comes and he says, I want a second wife. All hell breaks loose. And then we blame this man. Yeah, but why are you keeping it secret? What else should he do?
Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy. So
what an argument! Imagine you could turn the same. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're totally correct. You could say the same thing about any guy. Like, you don't do everything your husband wants, and therefore, why are you going to be upset if he goes and cheats on you? You could say that. You could say that about anything. Why are you going to blame him?
I mean, you could turn this around and say, Muslim brothers are saying that they love their brothers and they would do everything for their brothers, but they will not share their wives with their brothers. You could turn the same thing around and just use that. Why is that any weaker here? This is such a dumb argument.
Yeah. Did y'all catch that? Repeat that again, because that's important.
You could turn the same thing around and say, he says, Muslim sisters say, we love our sisters, we would do this and do that for our sisters, but we would never share our husbands with our sisters. But you could turn this around, and you could also say, Muslim brothers, men, say we love our brothers, we would do everything for our brothers, but we would not share our wives with our brothers. Why? You could apply the same logic here. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Zadok said, why is there variance of coverings in Islam from the shaila to the burqa? What determines what covering is the most acceptable? Well, you have, so in the Quran, you have some they're not very clear verses. It's like covering up your ornaments and so on. But notice that's not clear on exactly how to what extent you have to cover up. And so you have to go to other Muslim sources, and there are Muslims who disagree on sources. And so it'll come down to what their scholars are saying and the different schools of thought. And it comes down to cultural issues. And so it's a situation that you find over and over and over again in the Muslim sources, where the perfectly clear Quran is just really, really unclear on exactly what it's saying. And so you end up with a pretty broad spectrum of practices that flow out of it.
Yeah, that pretty much summarizes it.
All right. So was there more? No, we got about another minute of this.
To see how Allah is testing her, to see how she responds. Yeah. That's, if she decides to do the opposite, which is, throw the divorce card or throw this card, then ultimately she's falling into the act of disobedience.
Thank you.
Family.
Which
did you catch that? And it's already happening. Notice all these women, all these young women, were horrified at the idea of their husbands getting a second wife. None of them wanted it. And yet you just saw her, how quickly she can be conditioned to say, okay, if I have a problem with sharing my husband and me, me wanting him all for myself, I'm going to have to answer for Allah. I'm going to have to answer to Allah. And maybe Allah is testing me by how faithful I am to him. And well, what's the test? Like Allah's testing me to see if I'm going to get divorced over this, or if I'm actually going to stop being selfish and let my husband marry as many women as he wants, and so on.
That is actually a very popular explanation in Muslim society and Muslim cultures, where women adopt this way of thinking because that's what they are told by their imams and by their scholars as well. So this is very, very common. Muslim women will often say this to each other. One of them says, "I would never accept this. How can I accept something like that? Can you?" And they then say, "Well, this is how Allah tests our patience." And as good women, as good Muslim women who have faith in Allah and who do things for Allah, we should be accepting this and thereby show that we are good believers. And that's just, that's where the cult-like mentality comes out, where you can clearly see that the women don't like this, but they are told that this is actually good. So they turn this around, and this miserable thing, which we all clearly hate, is actually good, and we just don't like it because this is a test. What we really need to do is to do whatever the husbands want. This is cult behavior.
Yeah, and everyone who's horrified at this, never ignore the fact of how absolutely easy it is to condition people to accept this.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think, oh no, women will never go for this. Wrong. You can condition men very easily. You can condition women very easily. If you are in a context of you're a Muslim, again, you could condition people whether they're male or female. But in this context, you're a Muslim woman. Do you want to be a good Muslim woman or a bad Muslim woman? You obviously want to be a good Muslim woman. And these guys will start bombarding you with the idea of what is a good Muslim woman. And a good Muslim woman they're going to define as one who's totally fine with her husband boning a bunch of other women, because that makes her not selfish. Say, you don't want to be selfish wife. You don't want to hold him back and thwart his desires and so on. So they can condition people really quickly like that. Hey, why is Inspiring Philosophy over here in the chat when he could just call? He could just call in and join us, dude. You could just call in and join us. What the heck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
But he says, I just realized the Muslim men in this interview never asked the women if they would like to be a second secret wife. Does any woman aspire to be a second secret wife? What women are these men going to convince to do this? You can condition them too. And it's kind of an honor, right? Like, oh, you had your wife.
3-year-old ones, maybe.
Yeah. But like, I mean, think about it from the perspective of a woman. I mean, it's like for people who've always wondered, like groupies who follow around like sports players or something like that, and they just want to be able to say that they had sex with some famous ball player or something like that. You think, oh, what's in it for these women? Well, they were chosen, right? Like this guy, this famous athlete could have picked anyone, and he picked you, and so I guess that means you're really hot or something like that. But I mean, think about this: if a guy wants you as his second, he's already married, now he wants you. I mean, I guess that would be appealing to certain women, especially if they've been conditioned to think this way. And guess what? The Da'is, they're on this. They're working on they're working on conditioning their second, third, fourth wives and so on.
Here's the thing. I mean, imagine the scenario. Just make up a hypothetical to understand how that could go and feel. The man sits down as a religious Muslim man and carelessly breaks the news to his wife and says, "Hey, I want another wife, and I have already laid my eyes on one. I want to marry that one." Or he says, "Hey, I already have a second wife, which you don't know about, and this is fine. I finally want to tell you about this." Now, if she becomes emotional and says, "How dare you? I will not accept this," the man responds with, "Are you saying you go against what Allah and Muhammad have ordained? Are you saying you disagree with Allah and His Messenger? Are you saying you're going against the Quran?
Are you sure you're even a Muslim anymore?
Yeah,
the way you're acting, you're acting like a Westerner.
Yeah,
you're acting like a non-Muslim feminist Westerner, whatever you are.
And then the woman also has to compete with a little child. Like she's getting old. She's already used in her mid-20s, and now she has to compete with a 5-year-old second wife, and that's a.
Yeah, we saw, we have the records. We know how all of that worked out for Muhammad's wives as he's trading, as he's bringing in younger, hotter wives.
This is so messed up, man.
This is really, really messed up. This is just a religion of hey, what do the men who are coming up with this religion want? Oh, let's build an entire religion around that. All right, let's
now expected as a Muslim man to follow. It's not the religion of Islam. It's the religion of women's feelings. I'm not going to follow that religion. With respect to you, I'm not going to do prostration to the collective hormonal and emotional status of men or women or children or anybody else.
You're saying if he's man,
I'm not going to bow down to a woman. I'll just bow down to a big pagan cube.
Yeah, and I'll worship Muhammad.
Yeah, now if you give me a black stone, I'll kiss that thing all day long, but not you. That's my real first wife, the black stone.
If your husband came to you man enough and said to you he wants a second
man
wife,
enough,
At least then it's not.
notice how they're always couching everything in man enough. So notice if he's man enough to just come to you and say I'm getting my second wife. Let's see where he goes with it.
Secret.
Sister,
I knew
one
about
second,
it.
one second. Do you know about it? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna say to me, yeah, you can? Thank you. Your face says
No.
enough. Your face says enough.
If he knows that she would withhold the kids from him, use the state, then do it without her knowledge.
But I believe that's a form of abuse.
You said, bro, and I'll call them cowards, who would rather make their wife happy at the displeasure of Allah. Yeah? A coward, the biggest coward ever, that would go and commit zina, adultery, at the cost of my wife. You are the biggest simp ever with a capital S.
Terrible, terrible people. They would rather make their wife, keep their wife happy instead of keeping Allah happy and doing what Allah says. Horrible, horrible people.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So this is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. These guys have been putting out this kind of content, and then this is just the latest, but this has been going on for years. And this has been going on for years, and you're getting all these people leaving Islam. You're getting this avalanche of apostasy. We didn't come up with the avalanche of apostasy. That's what Muslim scholars are calling it. They're in this interesting situation where when they're talking to us, they thump their chest. Oh, Islam is taking over the world. And then when they're talking to each other behind the scenes, what are we going to do about all the apostates? Everyone's leaving Islam.
Child is going to become an apostate.
Yeah. So let's just recap. This is the video Hatun made, but we'll watch a clip of
1 minute, David. I have a thought about that thing that we just watched. I also actually talked about that earlier on Twitter, but there is a funny thing there. They keep pushing this whole issue during that show about polygamy, and say every man is naturally polygamous, and every man who will come here will, admit if he is pushed and if he is put to a lie detector that he is polygamous, that he would rather marry multiple wives if the wife allows it. But women are not like that. So they keep pushing this whole idea, keep telling the women, you guys, you are, women, you are all satisfied with one man, but we just want all the women available out there. I really, I find it so funny. The show is called The Bitter Truth, right? Mm-hmm. I think in order to honor the name of the show, what they should be really doing is to ask the wives directly and say, be honest, please. Be honest. Do you, as a woman, also have desires for other men? Mm-hmm. Since this is called The Bitter Truth Show, please go ahead and admit this. There is no blame. Of course, I don't think this should happen because the women will probably end up dead or something like that.
Yeah. It would be funny if they asked that. If ALLthat was like, so listen, you women, when you see big strong Mohammed Hijab tear his shirt off in front of the embassy and he's shaking it in front of everybody, be honest now, be honest, how many of you are proud of that? and like all the ladies' hands go up, and it's like their husbands are like, oh no, what are we gonna do, right? And that's the problem with this. Notice, I mean, they're basing a lot of their reasoning on, sort of on average, men would tend to want more sexual partners than women, but I mean, there's a spectrum. There are guys who. I mean, there's a spectrum. There are people who aren't attracted to anyone. They don't want any sort of sexual partner. That's one extreme end. But you do have guys who want to be committed to one person. You do have women who want to have a bunch of sexual partners. So it's very weird to just say we're going to take like the average, the average of all this. Well, what about the desires of a woman who wants 4 different men? Rotate on a rotating schedule. What about her desire? Should her husband? No, that's not allowed. Why? Because the women didn't invent the religion.
Yeah.
Women didn't invent your religion. Yeah.
This whole idea that this is men are like this and women are like this. That's a myth. It's an old traditional idea which people told themselves, and because that's how they drove their societies further. But this is a myth. It's not based on any actual.
It's a parallel. You could say, hey, on average, men are stronger than women. Right? On average, men are stronger than women, but there are women who would kick the crap out of a lot of men. There are men who are weak and frail, and there are women who would kick the crap out of them, and so on. So it's like, it's hey, let's base our claims about what marriage should be and so on based on a kind of averaging of things and just ignoring the outliers. And I don't know. Anyway. Weird situation. But this is DAWAH. This is DAWAH.
What a religion.
All right, we're ready to check out some Muslim sheikhs crying over what's happened. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen,
always
we've got this clip. We've got these clips of the Muslim sheikhs crying. A little recap of the avalanche of apostasy. Then we're going to go through Sajid's response to all of this mess that is being made by his fellow da'is. And then we're going to bring it all together, because one thing I want is for everyone to have the big picture in mind, and you're going to have the big picture in mind after we get through this. Yes. Oh my goodness! It's the worst sound in the world. Oh man, are people doing that, AP?
Defecating on the Quran? I don't know.
I couldn't imagine our enemies would sink this low. But I mean, think about it. These are the same guys who are saying, "Do we need to massacre?" Their words. They said, "Do we need to massacre entire cities of people to stop this?"
Yeah, I can't believe people can be so shameless to write Muhammad on their penises and to defecate on paper. What should we do? Should we burn the cities down and massacre them all? What should we do?
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Their da'is are going around. We're gonna have our secret second wives. Ha ha! So you either need to be okay with it, or we'll have our secret second wives. Do you want to be okay with it, and you'll know about the second wives? You want to keep it secret, and you're always in a state of anxiety and paranoia. Ha ha! We'll take your pick, right? And then the other guys, we're gonna marry. Yes, it's okay to marry 5-year-olds. Yes, it's okay 4-year-olds. Yes, it's 3. I mean, even 11 months if her parents say it's okay. And then people are like, oh my goodness, this is disgusting. And then so they. Welcome to Pakistan. The response is, we'll teach these guys a lesson. We'll write Muhammad on our wieners. Post that on the internet, and then we'll all like go to the websites and be looking at pictures of each other's wieners with Muhammad written there. That's how we respond. So anyway, it's interesting. Yeah. These guys crying their eyeballs out.
And this is what the Pakistani government and intelligence in cybersecurity is busy with. They're like, hold on, we have just found out about a new website where people are posting photos of the Holy Prophet Muhammad on their penises. Intercepted now. I'm sending you the data. Keep this secret. And they're cracking down on that. Yeah, they're raiding places probably to prevent people from taking photos of their penises with Muhammad on it.
I'm telling you, if they made a CSI Pakistan blasphemy division about these guys Okay, what do we got now? Oh my goodness, look at this site. It's a guy. And of course you have to blur it out for TV and stuff. But then them like jumping on the case and having a go and like scanning rooms with all their advanced equipment and so on to figure out who perpetrated this dastardly deed. I would watch that every single week.
Yeah. They have a large briefing with all the members of the agency coming together and speaking about this grave new issue and having a big screen where they show all the
a briefing, more like a debriefing. Get what I'm saying? Get what I'm saying? All right, let's get a little more of this here. We're such an unfortunate people. We just want to kill and rape everybody.
And unthinkable is happening at the heart of Muslim countries. 7th biggest Muslim country, Pakistan. Muslims are walking away from Islam. Muslims are critiquing Islam after they walk away from Islam, shaking the Muslim majority countries.
Researchers show that over 100,000 Muslims leave Islam every single year. Our youth are full of doubts.
24% of Muslim youth are leaving Islam.
23% of Muslims, American-born Muslims.
23%. You get the varying, and keep in mind, guys, this is several years ago that they were saying 23%, 24%. I think Zakir Naik said 25% of young Muslims leaving Islam. And guys, that's not where it's stopped. That it's in the process of accelerating, and that's where they were at a few years ago.
This is only the beginning.
Some are leaving Islam, yet they are still leading the prayers out of fear. What is going to happen to them? What is going to happen to their family? They are pretending to be Muslim while they are not. Yes, unthinkable is happening at the heart of Muslim countries.
That is unthinkable.
So that's and keep in mind, we know about that stuff from Muslims who posted these clips of their discussion saying, you know, hey, there are all these Muslims. They're in Muslim schools. They're leading prayers. Some of them have memorized the Quran and they're leaving Islam. And what do we do about this? Yeah, we do like this this lineup idea that could be a good part of the show. Where okay, we've got this picture of you. We're not sure which one of you this is. So we're going to need everyone to line up against the wall here. Drop your pants.
That's a good idea.
CSI Blasphemy Squad, get in here.
Yeah. I can't believe you just listened to that strong Turkish accent.
Why are you so racist against Turkish people, man?
I'm just being. I just saw Black Angel's comment that said "racist comment by AP" in 3, 2, 1. That's why I said.
Well, he's here to oblige. All right, so that sort of brings everyone up to date on some of the big recent events we've been discussing. Are we ready to get into Sajid's video?
I always love watching Sajid videos, so yes, always, every time.
Why is there so little hikmah in DAWAH? All right, let's check out.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, look at him trying to be like me.
And welcome all viewers. Today, I'd like to make a public service announcement to the non-Muslims who may have been given a false impression of Islam. I actually come from a non-Muslim background.
Guys,
what an introduction, man.
Think about what he's saying. I'm trying to talk to the non-Muslims here who are watching what's going on in our community. Please don't watch. Please don't watch what's going on because this is not.
I'm imagining
I'm begging you.
I'm imagining him just see all the stuff that is happening, the Daniel Kikachu debate, the Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab, and he with a serious attitude is like, then he sits down and requests, guys, please forget everything that you have just seen. Ignore those guys. Please focus on the good things. Those people do not represent us. This man
doesn't that suck?
It's difficult.
And like, I mean, he must know it, right? Like he sees Daniel advertising his upcoming debate with Inspiring Philosophy. He has to be like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a horrible. No, I have to clean this mess up. I have to clean this up. So here's his effort to clean this mess up.
Non-Muslim family members. I live in America. I'm surrounded by non-Muslims all the time. And I've made it a goal, a priority in my life to call to Islam, to teach people about Islam. And one thing that has unfortunately been the case since before I even became Muslim
is that people keep letting the cat out of the bag. One of the things that's happening is people keep telling everyone what Islam really teaches. It's all the stuff we're trying to keep secret, and they just keep blurting it out. Well,
is the fact that Islam, it's constantly being misrepresented.
By who? By your DAWAH guys?
Yeah. Used to be primarily from what we would call the mainstream media, whether it be the news on television or in newspapers. But now, given the direction that society has gone, a lot of it now is on social media. And
now
from what I've seen nowadays,
yeah,
now it's the Muslims themselves, unfortunately.
Yeah. So here's how it goes. The media never I don't know why Muslims complain about the media. I mean, who has supported and defended Islam more than the media over the years? I mean, every single freaking terrorist attack, we had to be bombarded with Islamic preaching. Did you? But this has nothing to do with Islam, because as everyone knows, if anyone killed a man, it's as if he's killed all mankind. No compulsion in religion. That's what Islam teaches. Anyone want to convert? That's what the media did for 2 decades, had their back. What you could say is, critics of Islam started pointing out all these problems and so on. But notice, it's everything, we pointed this out before, everything critics were saying in 2007, 2008, 2009, and we were being called liars for saying, now the da'is are openly proclaiming it, saying, yes, that's exactly what Islam teaches. So wait, all the stuff that you said we were lying about 15 years ago, now you're shouting from the rooftops. This is amazing stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically, if they say it, it's okay. If we say the exact same thing, we're lying. What a religion.
Yeah, we were lying because it was us saying it. That makes sense. It makes complete sense.
All right.
A major way that Muslims and non-Muslims interact is through debates, through online arguments and spectacles. And I think that this has unfortunately led to a misrepresentation to many non-Muslims regarding what Islam is truly about. Now, it can be difficult to make videos such as this, because if a Muslim is going to come out and they're going to be critical of certain factions of their own community, then such factions being criticized will call them opportunistic backstabbing agents. But at the same time, if you don't clarify it, then Islam is misrepresented not only to non-Muslims, but to the Muslim audience.
That's an important point. He's pointing out that he's in a really tough spot, because no matter what he does, he's in trouble. So this is a dilemma. Do I respond to these guys or not? If I don't respond to these guys, then these guys are growing more and more popular. They're running around defending child marriage, turning Islam. Now, I would assume Sajid knows that this is the religion of child marriage. He just understands you don't want to be the public face of pedophilia and be defending your religion. So he understands that it's bad. And therefore, since it's bad for the Muslim community, keep your mouth shut about this stuff. So if he doesn't speak up, these guys are going to keep making Islam look worse and worse by emphasizing all of the things that horrify people about Islam. So if he just lets things go, guess what? Ali Dawah, Muhammad Hijab, Sheikh Uthman, Daniel Hakikachu, these guys are all just getting more and more popular and making Islam look more evil and much stupider than people like Sajid think it is. And so what do? Do you respond? If you respond, all their fans attack you and saying, you're just jealous, you're causing division in the ummah and so on, you're a bad Muslim. And so if you respond, you're bad, and then you have to deal with all this stuff. And if you don't respond, well, what do? You just have to sit back and watch as they destroy your ability to do dawah, because you're going to get to the point where you go, hey, everyone convert to Islam. They're like, what? The religion of child marriage? Get out of here, man, you sicko. Right?
Yeah. And he's specifically saying that people refer to him, if he speaks out, as a backstabbing agent, and he's not just making that up on the spot. It's actually Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawah have referred to him as a backstabber because he came out criticizing Ali Dawah's behavior and performance when he
was that the
attempted
grapes
to have a debate with me, with the grapes and stuff. And then he also criticized Mohammed Hijab, and they called him a backstabber. And Daniel Hakikachu recently accused him of being a secret agent for the West to corrupt Islam or something like that, because he told him to calm down and stop causing unrest among Muslims and stuff like that. So he's directly or indirectly responding to these things that are actually happening to him right now.
Good Clan said, "Hey David Wood, you are the best all-time debaters to Islam." No, there are debaters who would run circles around me. You see, I like that part, and convert lots of Muslims into Christianity, or at least not living in Islam anymore. And of course, AP, I watch your videos too.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know anyone watched the videos. Yeah.
I didn't know AP still made videos.
I didn't know. Yeah.
All right, let's get a little more Sajid here. You notice, like, we obviously disagree with Sajid, but he's got way more common sense than
I'm serious. I like the guy. I like the guy. I actually genuinely like this guy. I think he's trying to be at least honest. I also apologize because in the past I once accused him of lying because he responded to me with things about the gospel, and I thought this is just he must be lying, but he was just he was being desperate or maybe lying to himself. But I think he tries to be as honest and as reasonable as possible, and he is also against all of these shenanigans that these other Muslim apologists are constantly engaging in. He has an interesting personality. I don't know. I like the guy. Unfortunately, he blocked me once I contacted him and asked him if he wants to have a conversation with me.
And it is a horrible position to be in, right? Like he's got the task of trying to clean up all these messes that these guys are making on a daily basis. I mean, on the daily basis, all these Dawah guys are like making Islam into a laughing stock, and they're doing it for their followers because their fans love it. Whereas he's looking at it not from a Dawah fan perspective, but how does this look to non-Muslims? This does not look good. It does not look good if we are now the official religion of child marriage. Of the official religion of marrying 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds and so on. We don't want to be that. But all the Hakikachu fanboys are, alhamdulillah, our great hero. He's defended child marriage, and he's like, oh my goodness, man.
Here's the thing. I want to add one little warning or disclaimer. I do praise Sajid Ludham sometimes for his personality and all of that, but this doesn't take anything away from the fact that he is a Salafi traditionalist Islamist who supports the establishing of Islamic states around the world and the application of harsh Islamic laws if there is opportunity. The reason Sajid Ludham is like this, and the reason he fights with Daniel Hakikachu, for example, is that he is a Salafi, just like Daniel Hakikachu and the others. Salafis are these revivalist traditionalist Muslims, but he is from a little bit of a different way of thinking, from a different strain, where they are called quietists, or also they are called madkhalis, based on a scholar named Rubaya Madkhali or something like that, who was
don't make up
loyalist.
names. Don't make up names, man.
Well, his last name was his name was Madkhali, whatever his first names are. I don't care. But so that guy was in support of being a loyalist supporter of whatever Muslim governments are in existence, without publicly criticizing them. And Daniel Hakikachu, on the other part, is a brutal radical who will call out and brutally confront every Islamic government that doesn't apply Islam properly. So they are on two different sides of the traditionalist spectrum, but in the end they still believe in the same things.
Yeah, and that's why even though you can appreciate the position that Sajid is in, and you can actually respect him for being willing to call out his co-religionists, don't lose sight of the fact that they are ultimately aiming at the same thing.
Yeah.
And this isn't true of all Muslims. You could be, you could be from a different sect of Islam that does not believe in the same hadith sources, and you could get some very different results. You could get people who are like, no. These guys are totally wrong about a lot of these things they're saying. You could get Muslims like that. This is why I said, Sajid, at the end of the day, he probably believes that child marriage is okay. He might be one of the guys who says, it was okay back then, but the world has changed, and since girls go to school now or something like that, he might think something like that. So he might think it's actually wrong in this time. But I mean, he is committed to the same sources. So I guarantee you he believes in some really, really creepy stuff that would align with a lot of the horrifying stuff we hear about Islam. But so, I mean, you could actually think of it like this, like, which would you prefer? Would you prefer the guys who are blurting out all this horrible stuff, or the guys who are trying to cover it up? Right? Like,
that's the thing.
You could look at it as is actually worse to cover it up.
Yeah, that's why I actually want. I mean, that's why I always want Daniel Kikachu to be out there and to speak to people. I mean, the guy thinks somehow that I don't like his presence, or that I'm trying to hide. I don't know. I love it. I emphasize Daniel Kikachu. I talk about him. I suggest him to others. I highlight the things that he does just because he puts it right out there in front of everyone's eyes. He shows to everyone what a horrible thing Islam actually is, and that is good, because too many people hide it and he doesn't.
Yeah, and so it seems like every one of these guys is like a mixed bag. You can point to things like, oh my goodness, that's awful, and something good about the person. So it's like, yeah, Daniel's claims that he's making, same thing with Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab, they're advocating some horrible practices, but it's actually good that they're blurting them out because it helps people make an informed decision. And Sajid, you could actually respect him for, calling out other people for saying horrible things and so on, but it doesn't mean that his views are any better on a lot of these topics.
Yeah, he still doesn't have hikmah.
He's got more hikmah, but still not enough hikmah. So Richie Torres say, don't let all of this distract you from the fact that Christians are praying that AP, the apostate prophet, is freed from the absurdity and stupidity and idiocy of atheism/materialism. So you heard it.
Did you just? Oh no, I was wondering if you made up that part, but absurdity. Oh, you added to it.
Okay. I expanded. It's the D-Wood expanded translation.
I wasn't reading it, and I was sure that you either made that up completely or added to that.
Yeah. So everyone's praying for AP to escape this low hikmah, death trap of atheism.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some more Sajid.
It really does put us in between a rock and a hard place, as the saying goes.
Good description.
However, I know many of you watching are intelligent people. Many of you very much appreciate such clarifications. So that being the case, I wanted to just mention a few things. Firstly, I think we can contextualize the entire situation if we keep in mind the fact that nowadays our society just seems to be entertaining ourselves to death. Never in the history of humanity has...
It's actually a good point here. Let's about social media being more entertainment driven, and then content creators having to adapt to this. But
people have the opportunity to sit there on their smartphones, on the internet, watching movies all day, having access to an endless amount of music and games, and interacting on social media, posting content yourself. I mean, this is unprecedented, and it's something that only Allah knows how many of us are addicted to. So because we have become a society obsessed with entertainment, this of course has affected the way that religions such as Islam are presented to the people. And it's
so notice the issue there. It's back in the day, let's suppose you went to see William Lane Craig back in the day. Like before the rise of the internet. So let's suppose this is like 80s or 90s. If you were going to go see William Lane Craig speak, you would go to like a college campus where he's speaking, or a church or something like that. He's speaking. You go in there, you sit down, you're at this, let's say, hour-long lecture or something like that. You're kind of committed already. There's nothing else once you sat down, you can get up and leave, but other than that, you're basically kind of committed. You're kind of locked into your position. Now, when everyone carries around devices, you have to keep people entertained, or you're literally a click. They're literally a click away from watching something else, right? So now you would watch. You don't need to go somewhere to watch, let's say, William Lane Craig or something like that. Now you just, if you want to watch something, you click on it on social media, and if you lose people's attention for 5 seconds, there's all this other stuff right on the side to click on that's saying, "Hey, come click here, come click here." And what that means is, instead of just presenting information, you have to also be entertaining people, because otherwise they'll click on something that's also entertaining in addition to being informative. And what this means is that everyone, content creators, have to be shaping their content with these things in mind to be entertaining as well. But notice, what do people click on? If you're talking about child marriage and so on, and hey, we're having the big child marriage debate, or hey, we're talking about secret second wife, well, who's not going to click on that? And so it's actually encouraging these guys to talk about all of these things, because that's getting them the clicks. And they're not clicking on just, hey, here's my defense of Tawheed or something like that.
Yeah. But so people would rather click on that. But here's the thing: I want to give Sajid a bit of an idea of something that he could. If I was in his place, like for example, he puts a headline, a title named "How to Have More Hikmah," and people don't care. People don't click. They would rather click on, "Is it okay to have secret second wives?" Everybody wants to know more about this because people are, dying to have a second wife. So he could come up with new ideas. He could adopt stuff that people like from pop culture. And you could, for example, turn the Hikmah title into something like "Hikmah Baby One More Time," or that was terrible. I know,
that was the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
That was the worst joke I've ever.
I was laughing just because you had. I was laughing just because you had the nerve to say something that dumb.
I know. I'm just realizing how horrible that was, and I want to end my stream, not my life. But yeah, no, he could make it more entertaining. Maybe it could, just like ALLthat, it could make clickbait videos to reach more people, and then he could give up more of his dedication to truth and reason, and thereby, appeal to more people who would rather watch ALLthat. He should be doing this.
And that is an issue. Look at Damon here said, this guy's on social media making a video about how bad social media is. Yeah. But it's like, I mean, he is on social media, but he's not doing at least here he's not doing the entertainment driven idea. He's sticking to his guns as far as, I'm just going to talk to people and be reasonable. The problem is that that's not working, right? The people who are doing it differently are the ones who are exploding in popularity. And so that's the real difficulty that he's in, is everyone who's doing it the ALLthat way is going to become more and more popular. Everyone who's doing it the Sajid way is going to become insignificant. And so if you're a let's say 17, 18-year-old Muslim, and you're deciding you want to go the social media route, which route are you going to go? You're going to copy ALLthat, right? Yeah. You're going to copy Muhammad Hijab. You're going to thump your chest. And so that's what Sajid sees. This is only going to get worse, because these guys are like the models for the way things are going to become. And it's only going to increase. And there must be a pretty horrible feeling of helplessness. But what were you cracking up about? Because you obviously want to talk about it.
No, I just saw that comment from Jacobog, which said, unsubscribe because of that joke.
AP is losing me subscribers.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dan here says, now this is becoming the Repent AP show. Dan Straight says, God bless you, David. Praying for you and your family. Oh, yeah, that AP guy, too. Come to Christ, AP. Quit being an atheist dirtbag. Refuting atheism is easier than refuting Islam, because atheism is much dumber, according to Dan Straight here. So you heard it here, folks.
Always have to read to check if it actually says that.
All right, some more from Sajid here.
To the extent that sometimes the truth and what's right, what's actually beneficial, will be sacrificed for the sake of entertainment. And we will let our desires get the best of us because we want to be entertained. We want to watch this. And at the same time, fool ourselves into thinking that it's beneficial, or that we are walking in the footsteps of the righteous Muslims. So in the name of fighting for Islam, we find people having the most absurd, ridiculous debates. But such debates garner the most people, because it's seen as entertaining, and you're also tapping into not only your Muslim audience who are going to cheer you on, but you're also tapping into the non-Muslim audience and those who may be cheering against you. But for everyone watching, I would like to clearly state that Islam is not about intellectually owning opponents in debates and arguments.
What? It's not?
Now he's onto a related topic of, like, you do have, it's this trend for a long time of, you're humiliated, we've humiliated you, and so on. And that's like what, but notice that's another example of just what's popular. If you post a clip of you owning someone and, hey, AP destroyed with these grapes and so on, then people click on that. So it is this weird changing world where you have to be talking about really weird stuff. You have to be talking about really sensitive issues. You have to be entertaining people the entire time. And that's what's going to, and you have to be like owning and humiliating everyone. And that's what's going to make you popular. And if you're just a calm, reasonable person trying to present your views, yeah, you're not acting like an idiot, but the other guys are the ones who are growing rapidly in their impact. And so, gosh, this is a rough spot to be in. Keep in mind, everyone. I mean, he's talking about from an Islamic perspective right now. Everyone's got to deal with this. Everyone, atheists, Christians, Hindus, everyone's got to deal with the same issue. Namely, as we're adapting to social media, people's attention span decreases. Their inclination to click away from things very quickly, that increases. So their ability to be sidetracked and distracted very easily, that increases. And therefore, in order to hold people's attention, you have to be dialing up things like theatrics and entertainment and so on. You have to do that. And so it means that there's like this arms race of who's going to be talking about the most disturbing things in the most hilarious way possible.
Yeah.
And it's just,
we live in a society. Yeah.
Yep. And AP loves this because that's basically all he does is entertain people with no content.
Yeah. That's what I did.
With no actual content. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see where he's going.
Islam is not about being as contrarian and unlikable as humanly possible. In
the this is a clear reference to Daniel Kikic.
Yeah. Yeah. And notice he does seem to zero in on the important points. But whenever you have these sort of group dynamics where it's one group versus another group, you could see this in politics. You can have two political parties who try to work together, but if they get to a point where they really, really hate each other, then the people within each, let's say, political party, could be any groups that are set against each other, religious groups, whatever. But you have two political parties and they come to view each other as enemies and not people who are all sharing the same society and should be working together. Then once your group has set the other group as their supreme enemy, people will literally they will be climbing over each other to become more extreme against the other group, to be more contrarian, as he put it. And so you will tend to elect people who are owning the other side more, and whoever is most revolting to the other side, that becomes your guy. And so he's pointing out that this is true even here. If you're a Muslim and you feel like your religion's being attacked by people like AP and things like that, and our religion is under attack, you tend to rally around a champion. Who are you going to rally around? The guy who is most contrary to what the critics are saying and doing. Exactly. And so you'll just rally around these guys. And the calmer voices, what do we need him? We need a champion who's going to own these guys. That's who we need. And so he sees all this. He sees what's going on here.
And the thing is, Islam is the ultimate, warlike ideology that has this whole idea of defeating and fighting for Allah and all of that stuff. So Islam is definitely very quick to adopt this ideology and to elevate it as much as possible.
Did you check the comment?
AP has a secret second religion, secret Christian.
Yeah. People are funny, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Being courageously unapologetic. But Islam is balanced. It's also not about acting like we all agree on everything. Nor is it about sacrificing the truth in hopes that everyone likes you. What Islam is about is La ilaha illallah, which means there's nothing worthy of worship except
Preach,
Allah.
brother.
And Allah is a name referring to the Creator, the one who created all of us, the one who is the all-knowing, all-hearing.
Yeah, he's kind of losing me with this. I don't mean losing my attention. I mean, come on, dude. It's like he's going back to this standard Dawah pitch of, hey, Islam is just belief in one God and submission to one God. You believe in one God, don't you? So submit to one God. That's all Islam is. No, it's not. Especially if you're talking about Salafi Islam. It's a pretty big package deal, right? It's that and a ton of other stuff. And people like Sajid, they don't want people knowing about the ton of other stuff until they've been conditioned to be ready for it. They understand, hey, if you just expose people to all this extra stuff as part of this package deal, they're going to be horrified at it. And therefore, you need to just emphasize, hey, just one God, Tawheed, Tawheed, Tawheed. You got to emphasize that, get them into Islam, and then slowly work them into. You don't run around shouting it that hey, this is the religion of child marriage and stuff like that. You don't want to do that.
I also did this thing when I first had my first interaction with this guy. I asked him, since he seems to hide all those jurisprudential things to the background, or keeps them for later. I asked and said, what should happen to me as a Muslim under your ideal Islamic system and your Islamic world? And he didn't respond to it. He basically responded to it by, well, this is not something that we should be talking about anyway, because this would be up to the to the rulers and the scholars of jurisprudence and all of that. So what he does here is he clearly knows what I'm talking about, but he unlike Muhammad Hijab and DAWAH and Daniel Kikiju and all of these other idiots, he doesn't want to directly say what he actually thinks. He wants to keep it quiet, leave the hidden, disturbing, barbaric part to another time, while right now just preaching nicely to all the others, except you, who is going to be executed later.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's right though, right? Like it would be wiser to keep your mouth shut about all that stuff and not tell people about it, right? Like in other words, if the Dawah guys could all be on the same page, it should be, hey guys, let's keep all this stuff a secret until later. Let's just focus on oneness and converting people to Islam and stuff. Let's focus on that. Introduce the stuff later. And so, yeah, from his perspective, it's like you guys are ruining everything by bringing this out into the open when that's the stuff we're supposed to keep secret until later.
Yeah. You idiots.
What's wrong with you? You know what the problem is? We've got all these LHDs going around. Low Hikmah Dawagandists. He should use that term. He should call these guys LHDs, low hikmah dawagandists. And the goal of people should be to be HHDs, high hikmah dawagandists. You call them double HDs. The goal should be to be double HDs, the high hikmah dawagandists. That's what you want to be.
Or it could be a spin on Andrew Tate's high value man and low value man, where it's like high hikmah man and low hikmah man.
Hey, you know, it's funny because I was mentioning that I think it's clear. I'd have to put the actual clips together, but I thought it was clear that Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab and so on, they're getting this from Andrew Tate, not the idea. I mean, the idea of secret second wives and so on, that's in their beliefs. But the idea that you could just sit women down and tell them, hey, if you want a high value man like me, you got to look the other way when I cheat. Right? He was doing that just from the perspective of clubbing. Hey, if I'm paying all the bills and you get to live in my giant house and ride around in my Bugatti, then keep your mouth shut if I'm cheating on you, or I'll replace you with someone who doesn't care and is fine with it and is happy riding the Bugatti and doesn't care if I'm cheating on the side, right? And so so these guys are doing the exact same thing. But it's very interesting because Tate in that context was saying, hey, if you want a high value man. And then in that Ali Dawah video, Muhammad Hijab refers to so you want to talk about losers here. We got a high value man, but he's talking about it in the same way, a high value man. You've got from their perspective, it's high value Muslim. Look, we're out doing the Dawah. We deserve our extra women, and you should be fine with it.
these people are such
wild stuff, man.
Smooth brain.
These are fun times to be in. All right, let's see what he's got here.
The one that has the most perfect attributes. He is completely unique and he is one. And what we try to do as Muslims is submit to and follow the guidance, the revelation that he sent us.
All right, you got a problem? Surah 4, verse 65, we've been through this a million times. Our job is to submit to him. But Allah says, Surah 4, verse 65, you can only submit to him by obeying everything Muhammad decides. Yeah. And that's when you go to the hadith. And that's when you get the stuff about child marriage and all this other stuff. Secret second. Yeah, that's the other part. Surah 33, verse 21 says, Muhammad is your pattern of conduct. Guess what? Muhammad was messing around with his slave girl, Mary the Copt, in his wife Hafsa's bed, trying to keep it a secret. Then he wants Hafsa to cover it up. Then she doesn't. Then he swears an oath that he won't do it anymore. Then he breaks that oath and says Allah told him to break the oath. He gets revelations in the Quran about this. That's your pattern of conduct. So, sorry. So
now you're just proving that Muhammad was a high value man. And
super high value.
It was based. Yeah.
Hey, we should make a movie about Muhammad where he's like Andrew Tate. You know what I mean? Like, just bragging about how super high value he is. He's like the most high value dude of all time.
Yeah. And instead of having a Bugatti, he has a Burak, the horse.
You know? He's got a Camelak.
What color is your camel? Yeah,
what color is your Camelak?
Yeah.
And a very important aspect of that guidance is having the best character. As Muslims interacting with non-Muslims in the name of da'wah, in the name of calling people to Islam and teaching them about Islam, it's incumbent upon us to represent this religion through having the best of character. And we should relay the reality of what Islam...
best of character according to Westerners, or best of character according to Muhammad, your pattern of conduct? Because living up to that pattern is pretty different than
Mohammed, by his standards, by Mohammed's standards, best of character.
Is about. It always has to come back to worshiping Allah alone, trying to learn about who Allah is, keeping in mind our purpose in life and the fact that Allah is going to resurrect us and we are going to be held accountable before him in the hereafter. Understanding that he sent prophets throughout time, and the last prophet he sent was the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And that the Quran is the final revelation that he sent to us and preserved for us.
Have you noticed we're sitting here letting him do dawah on our channel? I wonder if anyone's like converting in there. Oh my goodness, I didn't know all this. Let me convert.
I'm pretty sure a few people here have already converted by now.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we heard all that stuff about the avalanche of apostasy and about the child marriage and about the secret second wives. We're all horrified, but now he's saying, hey, it's oneness and we got to submit to God. And so, yeah, let's convert.
You see, this is how Allah humiliates them. They are now making free dawah. Allah is making them do dawah because they're enemies of Islam.
Hey, do you remember we posted a video and then like they ran like an Islamic ad and they were taken as like a miraculous sign? You see?
Yeah. So I'm not making this up. Ali Dawah actually did this. He because of an Islamic ad on one of our videos. He because of those videos that we made together, those 3 videos about people joining Islam. Watch this before you join Islam or something like that. And there we had Islamic ads playing before the videos, and he made a response and he was like, this is a miracle. This is a sign from Allah.
You see?
So he humiliates them. He shows them.
Yeah. It's not the algorithm saying, hey, lots of Muslims are people who are interested in Islamic topics watch these videos. Therefore, let's give them related ads. It's not that. It's a miracle of Allah exposing
algorithm us. Allah, basically the same thing.
Algorithm, the algorithm.
Algorithm.
The algorithm. Here we go.
He may be guided by
the Allahu Akbar algorithm.
These are the types of things that we Muslims should be inviting to and teaching. And once the true message of Islam has been conveyed, it's up to you to accept it or reject it. If you reject it, then we
slaughter you in the name of
religion, and for us is our religion. We have not been sent to argue.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you don't control the population.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We all know, Sajid, what happens when you control the population. Then that message changes.
We all know what Muhammad did. Yeah. We all know what Muhammad did, what the caliphs after him did. We all know this, man.
Yeah, when you are a small minority of the population and you invite someone to Islam and they say no thanks, then you say to you be your religion and to me be my religion. In an Islamic state, You can ask Ali Dawa what happens, because we already know.
Yeah.
Hey, look at this. Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. You don't even know what that's from, do you, AP?
I have no idea what that is. No.
Well, that's because
I'm ignorant.
You're too young.
What is that from?
That was from it was definitely an army of darkness. He had to go get this book, the Necronomicon. That's why I held up Sahih Muslim. He had to go get this book, the Necronomicon, and they told him he had to say these words before he picks it up, or he would release the army of the dead.
Oh.
And then he goes, he couldn't remember the words, so he goes, Klaatu, Varata, Nixo. There, I said the words, and it releases the army of darkness. And then he's like, okay, I didn't say every little syllable, but anyway, I don't know why someone's putting that there, but I've always wanted to do a video where I'm opening the Quran. Matter of fact, I have made a video where I said that while opening the Quran, but it'd be cool to have a Quran that looks like the Necronomicon.
Yeah.
Every day. But unfortunately, for quite some time now, this is what we find. And we find even amongst ourselves, Muslims debating each other for the sake of entertainment.
That's
Men
true.
and women sitting together, casually discussing topics that are really not a priority.
Oh, wait a minute.
Relevant to the vast.
What's that?
I watched this video and I didn't even catch this part for some reason. I think I was busy with other stuff. I didn't even hear this part.
He's clearly talking about that video.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of this.
So he's clearly talking about two things here, maybe more, but he's definitely talking about Daniel Hakikachu and the Ali Dawa Muhammad hijab discussion with the Muslim ladies about secret second wives.
Yeah. Wow.
Majority of Muslims, if not all of the Muslims, watching these conversations play out. So to summarize and conclude this video, I would firstly encourage anyone who is sincerely looking for truth to ask the Creator to guide you. Because at the end of the day, nothing I say, nothing that anyone says in a debate, in a video, in an argument is ultimately going to guide you. It's the Creator who's going to guide you. And I'd also say, just keep in mind that these entertainers online are just that. They're entertainers. They're not the type of people who are necessarily really going to tell you about what Islam actually is. They're not.
I mean, keep in mind,
beautiful.
He's being pretty brutal there. He's saying that Daniel Hakikachu, Muhammad hijab, Ali Dawa, these guys are just entertainers. He's saying these aren't the guys who are going to lead people to the truth. These are entertainers. These are internet.
I actually heard somebody else say that same thing before in a video response to Ali Dawa. There is this guy, this kind of extremist preacher type who is on YouTube, who doesn't have as many viewers, but he made a response to Ali Dawa. Somebody asked him about Ali Dawa, and he said something like, Ali Dawa, claims to make Dawa videos, but is it really Dawa? His videos consist of reacting to things, doing shenanigans, laughing,
clickbaity
like
stuff.
Yeah, just stuff that appeals to people who want to be entertained. He's not doing Dawa. This is not Dawa. He was saying it was pretty harsh, and Sajid is basically saying the same thing in a much nicer way. Yeah, wow.
Necessarily proper representations of what a Muslim should be. And for anyone who has had the message of Islam conveyed to you and you understand it and you reject it, you don't want to follow it, you don't want to believe in it, then it's not beneficial for us to go back and forth and argue and debate. And I would encourage my Muslim brother.
Yes, it is. If a person has set his mind, it may not be beneficial for that person, but there are people who are watching.
When will be watching?
There are people who are watching the discussion, Sajid. That's why you have the debates.
Yeah.
And sisters, to also internalize that and to not fall into what we've seen become a sport, an entertaining spectacle of argumentation, which is not from our religion. For those of you who are really interested in learning about Islam, inshallah, I'm going to start releasing videos where I'm explaining from the ground up
Learn from
Islam
me.
teaches, what Islam is, who the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was. So please subscribe and check back for such videos if you're interested. Allah knows best. Thank you for watching. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That's funny. Don't learn from those idiots. They're entertainers. Learn from me, guys. I'm going to publish videos soon.
Yeah, but notice, he's already doomed, right? So you're just going to make your videos not being entertaining, not going on these not owning people, humiliating people, not dealing with these super sensitive topics that could be an embarrassment, not touching on any of those. It's like you're basically saying I'm going to become less and less significant over time, and all these other guys are going to blow up in popularity more and more until and I mean, think about this. I mean, this is DAWAH when he's just got 1 million subscribers, and he's doing this. Oh, we want secret wives, blah 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 blah, right? And he's already saying it. What do you do when that guy's got 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million? What do you do when he's the most popular Muslim in history? This is gonna be awesome. What do you do then? Do you keep complaining on YouTube? He's just an entertainer. Okay, he's got 50 million followers at some point in the future. What do you do about that? I don't see a way out for these guys.
Yeah, you're right on that. That's the whole problem. He points out that accurately points out that those people are just entertainers and they're not actually doing the constructive right thing, but they are getting all the views because they are appealing to the population. You are not, and apparently the whole stuff is boring.
Yeah. So I just wanted to put everything together into context for people who.
What context? Who cares about context? What's context?
I'm saying once you understand what's been going on from the perspective of history, it's hard to figure out where to go from here. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the entire history. So Muhammad originally came out when he was in Mecca, and he's preaching, "Hey, everyone, just believe in one God. Let's get rid of these stupid idols and stuff like that. One God." He did not. He was not remarkably successful preaching that message. Right? There were some people who converted. Monotheism was making an impression in Arabia during the time because of Jews and Christians and so on, and it was opening people's mind to considering monotheism as a serious possibility. And then all of a sudden, hey, there's an Arab prophet claiming to get revelations supporting this stuff, and he's talking about Abraham and Moses and Jesus and everyone. And so he did win some converts, not a ton. It was later. It was later after he moved to Medina, formed some alliances. Then the message changed to, hey, if you join me and you go out and fight for me in battle, then there are two possibilities. Either you survive the battle, either we win the battle and you go home with rewards and war booty and taking these captives home to your tent, or you die in the battle and then you go to paradise and you spend eternity deflowering virgins. That's when Islam blew up, right? That's when you start getting these piles, mountains and mountains and mountains of converts. But notice, ladies and gentlemen, notice, because this is what Sajid can't get his mind around. Muhammad preaching oneness, Muhammad preaching Tawheed was not very popular. Muhammad preaching, let's go out and get all these women as our war booty, take everyone's stuff, and then spend eternity deflowering virgins, which seems to be more in line with the version of Islam being spread by Daniel Hakikachu and Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawah and so on. That's what was extremely popular. In other words, once Muhammad became more of a wish-granting, desire-satisfying entertainer, that's when he exploded in popularity. So that's that's built into it from very early on. So then you have centuries of Islam expanding through subjugating, right? So it expands out of Arabia. It goes across northern Africa up into Europe. It goes east all the way out to India and so on. So Islam keeps expanding, and the way Islam was growing back then was about conquest. Eventually they get stopped. Eventually they get stopped in India. Eventually they get stopped in Europe and so on. And that entire approach falls apart when the Ottoman Empire loses, right? Because up until then, hey, we've always had our empire, which is always in competition with other world empires, but we can hold our own. Now, all of a sudden, it was, oops, now our empire got crushed. Wait a minute, everyone around us is way more powerful because everyone else around us has modernized. And so this, after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, so you're talking about World War I here. After the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, you saw Muslim nations trying to modernize. That's why if you look at pictures of Iran and Afghanistan and so on from the 1960s, it looks very modern. It looks far more modern than it does now, because people are realizing, wait a minute, these guys are all way more powerful than us. This is not the way things are supposed to be in Islam. We need to go that route. We need to modernize and so on. But notice, there is another possible interpretation. So you could say, hey, the reason all these people are more powerful than us is they've modernized and we haven't. Therefore, we need to modernize. That's one possible explanation. There was another available explanation there. The alternative explanation was, maybe Allah is testing us or even punishing us for our disobedience, and therefore we should not be modernizing. We should be cracking down and enforcing Islamic law much more brutally. And so you notice you get the revolution in Iran, right? The religious takeover. You get the increase in popularity of the Muslim Brotherhood. This continues on down to our time with like ISIS and so on. Notice what ISIS is doing. We need to purify the Islamic community. Then Allah will bless us. Then we can compete with all these other guys. But you don't compete with all these other guys from an Islamic perspective. You don't become more powerful than these other guys by adapting to the West. No, you become more devoutly Islamic, and then Allah will bless you, and then you could crush these other guys. So that became a mentality. Then you get all these people becoming more and more diehard. But notice that's still going to take time, right? It's still going to take time for that to happen. So what happens during that time? You are still trying to win converts, and so you get like the Zakir Naiks and the Ahmed Deedats before him, and they're all preaching. But what are they preaching? They're preaching lies. Ahmed Deedat, Zakir Naik, these popular da'is, they were preaching anything they could make up to defend Islam because they knew they were speaking in an atmosphere of ignorance, and their own followers don't care. Their own followers don't care if they're making things up, as long as it's winning converts. So they go around sprouting complete nonsense. The Quran, there's only one Quran, perfectly preserved, right down to the letter. Total nonsense. Oh, there are all these scientific miracles in the Quran. Total nonsense. Everything they're preaching is total nonsense. I mean, these are the guys who are saying, oh, if you read the Bible closely, you'll see Jesus didn't die. And there are all these prophecies about Muhammad in there. Yeah, he's right there in Song of Solomon 5:16. It's like completely idiotic, insane stuff. But if you're talking to people who don't know any better, you'll always get a percentage of people who believe you, and so you're winning converts. So this keeps up for a while. Then of course you get 9/11 and so on, and now people are starting to look into Islam more. But people start looking into the arguments of people like Zakir Naik. All of a sudden, people get open access to Muslim sources. Now anyone can go and look up Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim online and so on, and they start ripping these things to shreds, completely exposing all of these arguments and all of these claims that are being made by these people. All the arguments that have propped up Islam for the past couple decades are being exposed as lies. And then you even have Muslims admitting, okay, there are holes in the narrative. Yes, everything we've been told is about the perfect preservation of the Quran. It's actually nonsense and so on. And people are finding that out. And then, so what do you do? What do you do now that critics are catching on? Well, what they tried for a while was, we'll just call you an Islamophobe. Yeah, if Zakir Naik says something that's a complete lie, and you show that he's a liar who's lying, then we'll call you an Islamophobe. You don't like that. And so that works for a while, calling everyone Islamophobes, threatening people, harassing people into silence. We'll kill you if you keep saying these things about Muhammad. And then you have the modern approaches, which is, find what makes Islam. It's all about finding a way to make Islam popular. And some of them are going in a route where if we could just get a famous person to convert, or if we can get on this famous person's podcast to present Islam to all that person's viewers, maybe we can grow like that. And then, of course, hey, if we entertain people, they're always looking for pockets of ignorance. In other words, there are still people in the world who don't know about any of this. They're looking for ways to find those people who haven't been inoculated against these ridiculous Dawah arguments. And so all of this is going on, and they're sort of trying to figure out ways to continue doing Dawah in an environment where it's just not working anymore, because Dawah has just been based on deception for so long. And then you've got the Ali Dawah, Muhammad Hijab crowd, which is, let's just do a bunch of antics and so on, shenanigans to make ourselves popular so that people are listening to us. And then you've got the Sajid route of, no, stop telling people that stuff. It's just embarrassing us. Let's just focus on the oneness. And guess what? None of it's going to work. None of it's going to work. That's what they're all looking for, the solution. What's going to work here? And the answer is no. You spread for 14 centuries through violence. That's not working because you're weak now. And then you were spreading through deception. That's not working now because now we can all look up your stuff. And so you have, if you don't have a plan B beyond this, you're just in trouble. But just going around preaching Islam, oneness, Tawheed, that's not going to work because everyone's going to be listening to the guys who are way more entertaining. But the guys who are entertaining are all narcissists who will gladly throw their religion under the bus as long as it glorifies them. And so that's not going to help you. And so you are as the French say, les screwed. There's no way around it. You're in trouble. You're in trouble, guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So that was bringing it all together. That is the state of Dawah right now. These guys are in a position. These guys are in a position right now. If you're Sajid or something like that, you're in a position where simultaneously you have to clean up the messes caused by Ahmed Deedat and Zakir Naik and all these guys, because now their deception is being exposed. So you're stuck with all this mess of what do you do now when people believe in perfect preservation of the Quran and they see that it's not true? What do you do? How do you hold that together? But simultaneously, the guys who are exploding in popularity are the guys who are completely embarrassing you and saying really, really bad things that make you look really, really bad. What do you do here? And the answer is you're in trouble. That's it.
You are in trouble. What you do is you take off your shirt in public, you scream, you do whatever you can to become popular. But are you happy now, David?
What do you mean? Happy about what?
I didn't expect such a long lecture here. I was almost going to leave because I thought I don't need.
Oh yeah, I wanted to put all that together because I don't know. I just find it interesting when you look at it from the whole 14th century perspective of, and then you see it's the same thing Muhammad went through of, hey, just preaching Islam doesn't work. I have to be. Guys, come here if you want to satisfy all these desires. Islam actually amplifies the desires and then only allows an Islamic way of satisfying the desire, and so you keep people in there. And of course it helps if you try to leave and they want to chop your head off.
That's the best thing to do. Actually, it's the best thing you could resort to.
Here's a question for you, AP. Before we. And pretty much that's what I wanted to cover. We got through the Sajid video. But here you have Nathan Clark. He says, real question here. How does one help a Muslim see the issue with the cognitive dissonance involved in the Muslim idea of how one gets to paradise?
How does one help a Muslim see the issue with the cognitive dissonance involved in the Muslim idea of how... For some reason, I'm not getting this right now. Real question here. How does one help a Muslim see the issue with the cognitive dissonance involved in the Muslim idea of how one gets to paradise? Which cognitive dissonance?
I guess when they're saying, okay, this is how you get to paradise in Islam.
Okay, but
and there are all kinds of problems with it, but you never see the problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
I think that's what he's mean. Like, how do you get these guys to see it? Like what they're doing? Like, so for example, just fixating on things that somehow agree with them and ignoring everything that refutes them.
I mean, you could just continue trying. I don't know. I was kind of looking for just to see a conflict of ideas that cannot be reconciled with each other, and how to make Muslims see that. But this is a very, very, very vague question.
I mean, it seems like what you just said is pretty much the same thing I would say. You just have to you have to keep at it, right? And understand that this can take years. If someone has been raised for years to believe something and you're saying, no, that's wrong, just showing, hey, here's one problem for you, probably not going to do it. Showing 3 or 4 problems, that might not do it. You might have to show 20 or 30 problems before it eventually clicks, right?
Yeah. You have to destroy them and humiliate them.
You have to crush them. You have to own them.
Yeah.
And you have to say need a second. And you need a second wife.
Yeah,
second wife. You see, grapes. It's all grapes. Great babe. Here we have you guys heard of the work of Ahmed Al-Jalad? He studied pre-Islamic rock inscriptions and found that they were completely monotheistic long before Muhammad was born. Nope, not familiar with that.
Never heard of it.
You did have other monotheistic groups, like we're of course familiar with the Jews and Christians, but even the Sabians. The Sabians recited a version of the Shahada. They recited La ilaha illallah. Muhammad just came on and tacked on, and Muhammad is his messenger.
There were also probably remnants of different religions which later on went extinct. The thing is, right now it looks like we can look back and think of certain religions. There is this religious group, and that the environment wasn't like that in the 7th century, and especially not in a place like Arabia. It was there were a lot of different people from belonging to different religions, different ideas, different sects and cults of religions, and some of the religions, some dualist or Gnostic religions, also had monotheistic ideas at their core, and they did believe in those ideas. They did believe that there is only one God who is the good, the light, the good one that you want to go to, whereas the other one, the other entity that exists, is not really God, or is a God that we don't worship or don't believe in. But that was also considered the worship and belief in worship of one God back in the day. So there were lots of different ideas, different beliefs in that time, but that doesn't take away, of course, from the fact that Islam has influence from a lot of influence from pre-Islamic paganism, polytheism.
It certainly does. Yeah, and I've described it as, it's just like you take everything that was around Muhammad in 7th century Arabia and you roll it all up into a ball, you get Islam. So you take the monotheism from the various groups that were teaching that. You take some of the stories, both heretical and orthodox, from the Jews. You take some of the stories, both heretical and orthodox, from the Christians. You take a view of some of the Persians and so on had this view of houris and paradise and so on. Of course the pagan practices, the kissing the black stone, the walking circles around the Kaaba and so on. You just take all of it and roll it up into a ball, you get Islam. In other words, Islam looks exactly like the sort of religion that would arise in 7th century Arabia.
Yeah, Zoroastrianism is very, the Iranian religion back then. Islam probably took a lot of influence from that as well, because Zoroastrianism was actually very, very influential and impactful at that time. Right now, it doesn't matter anymore because it was basically destroyed by Islam. But Zoroastrianism probably gave Islam a lot of ideas. Mm-hmm. And similarly, a religion that was probably not as popular, as widespread back then, was Manichaeism, which probably also in bits survived among people and led to different ideas also related to Jesus, for example, because Manichaeans also had certain Christian beliefs, but they were not Christians. They were a separate dualist religion. What's very interesting, by the way, is there is a group there's a religion called Mandaism, and those people are thought to be the Sabians or descendants or related to them. What happened is that when Muslims were conquering in the Middle East, they came across this specific religious group when they were very small in number, and that religious group claimed to be the Sabians in the Quran, and they had a book which they presented and said, "We are people of the book. Please don't, annihilate us." So they were allowed to live in Islamic lands, but that is also another religious group that existed back then. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what I wanted to cover. God Logic Apologetics just jumped in and said, "What I miss, you missed it all, God Logic. And now you are going to be completely insignificant for the rest of your apologetics career because you missed this." Hey, God Logic, we should do. You should jump on live with us one day. Sure, you've got some stuff to talk about with your interactions. All right, everyone. So that was to bring everyone up to date on the current state of the Dawa wars. They are stuck in a really, really bad position of having to clean up the messes of the past, which is basically 14 centuries of violence, which people are still concerned about. And then all of the propping Islam up through lies that you got from Ahmed Deedat and Zakir Naik, and then the ongoing messes created by the entertainment-driven Dawa community, and then poor people like Sajid who just want to take over the world for Islam, but can't do it because they're constantly being thwarted. That's a situation. And now Muslims around the world, because keep in mind, guys, you have plenty of Muslims out there who are just living normal lives and people who'd be, great neighbors and so on. They're looking at all of this and it's like, what do we do here? What do we do when these are the guys who are the public faces of our religion? And they're in a pretty difficult spot. And I'm a tactical genius, and I, for the life of me, cannot figure out any way out of this for them.
Yeah. I want to add two things actually that are going on right now, just very briefly to reference them. We will actually talk about one of those issues on my next live stream next weekend. One of those issues is there is a Muslim woman who recently had a debate with Daniel Kikachu, and whom Daniel Kikachu attacked very brutally. Her name is Sabrina or something like that. She just made a live stream in which she exposed. She went on Andrew Tate's website and basically pretended to be applying for their PhD pimp course and their own.
Yeah, it's called the pimping hose doctorate, PhD, pimping hose doctorate.
Yeah,
pimping hose degree, something like that. Whatever it is.
Yeah. So she applied for that and waited for a message from them, and shows on a live stream, on a video that that she gets a message from them, and the website tells them, the people who work for Andrew Tate tell them that she has to become part of the war room, which is on their website, to have access to the whole PhD, so pimping hose, and the OnlyFans package. And she, a Muslim woman who is very outraged by this Islamist attachment to Andrew Tate, is basically exposing there that while Islamists are praising Andrew Tate and while they're saying he's now a brother, let's forgive his past sins, Andrew Tate is still continuing his business of pimping and having an online porn business and running all of these things, and basically calling out all of the Muslim apologists that we talk about for their disgusting hypocritical behavior. That's very, very interesting.
And it's funny because like these guys are like they're Muslims in general, like this woman, they're in the same position that Sajid is in, right? They're looking, Andrew Tate is now the popular face of Islam. I don't want him to be the popular face of Islam because he's horrible and he has a horrible influence on people. So what do? Well, if you complain about it, you get attacked, like Sajid when he complains about Ali Dawa and so on. If you complain about it, you get attacked. But if you don't complain about it, what do? You just sit back and watch it happen. Like this is the only chance you have to deal with it, because these guys are just going to get bigger and bigger. But yeah, this is interesting because Muslims, look at Andrew Tate, he's the top G, he converted to Islam. And we look at it as like, have you seen the reasons he gave for why he liked Islam? It's because, hey, you still kill people over making fun of it, and you know how to keep women in check, and you'll just slaughter everyone who disagrees with you and so on. And it's like it's all the stuff we normally point out as problems for Islam. He looks at that and says, wow, that's the religion for me. Yeah. And so we point out
Christianity is weak. Christians forgive. Muslims, they're strong. They kill people who offend their religion. That's why Islam is good.
Yeah. So we point out, hey, look at this guy. Look at the horrible things he does, and they say, that was in the past. That's before he converted, and she's already exposed that. That. No, that's still going on. The Andrew Tate war room is still training people on how to turn girls, how to seduce girls and women into falling in love with you and then turning them into your webcam prostitutes.
Yeah.
You still get that training. So Andrew Tate is still making his money by that course. And so do not come, that was all in the past. No, that's still going on. Devout Muslim Andrew Tate is still training young people how to groom young women and to turn them into your webcam girls. Still training people to do that. So don't tell us this was in the past and that he's all cleaned up now. Don't give us that nonsense.
What a wonderful Muslim brother. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, we will be back, Lord willing, on AP's channel and maybe talking about bringing everyone up to date on Andrew Tate. So
Yep.
we'll
yep,
see what
yep.
happens. Any
And-
final parting thought for everyone before we go, AP? If you can come up with an original thought.
We live in a society. No, thanks, and stay away from Andrew Tate.
And you heard it here, folks. AP is a prophet, so he knows.
And stay away from Islam.